Canada, a land once celebrated for boundless opportunity, breathtaking landscapes, and an enviable quality of life. For decades, it was a beacon of hope where families flourished, careers thrived, and newcomers found the promise of a brighter future. But today, that promise feels broken. Families are struggling to make ends meet, young professionals are drowning in debt, and immigrants are questioning whether their sacrifices were worth it. Something has shifted. The Canadian dream, once admired around the world, now feels out of reach for millions. So, what happened? What forces are unraveling this once glorious vision? Let's kick things off with one of the most pressing issues facing Canadians today: housing. The dream of owning a home has always been a major part of what it means to live in Canada. It's part of the narrative: work hard, save, and one day you'll have a place to call your own. But for more and more people, that dream is slipping further and further out of reach. Just how bad is it? Well, according to a recent study by the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, home prices across the country have skyrocketed and are projected to reach record highs by 2026, particularly in major cities like Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. In fact, in these cities, the average home price has surpassed $1 million Canadian dollars, making it virtually impossible for many to afford a home without decades of savings. To put this in perspective, here's how Canada compares to major cities around the world in terms of average home prices. When you compare Canada to these global cities, it's clear just how unaffordable housing has become. Both Toronto and Vancouver have home prices that are significantly higher than major cities like New York, London, and Paris. If you're not buying, then maybe renting is your best option, right? Think again. The cost of renting in cities like Toronto has become increasingly unaffordable. In 2024, the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Toronto surpassed $2,500 Canadian dollars per month. This is a significant increase from just a few years ago, and it's leaving many people spending a huge chunk of their monthly income just to secure a roof over their heads. Renting has gone from a temporary solution to an expensive long-term struggle. It's no wonder many feel trapped. Okay, so housing is a nightmare, but what about the job market? Surely a good job can help make up some of the costs, right? Well, not exactly. In Canada, finding a good-paying job isn't always the golden ticket it used to be. The job market has drastically changed in recent years, and wages have stagnated while inflation continues to rise. This makes it harder for many people to get ahead, no matter how hard they work. The most recent data from Statistics Canada shows that the unemployment rate is slowly climbing, but that's not the full picture. A growing portion of the Canadian workforce is underemployed, working part-time, contract, or gig economy jobs that don't provide the stability, benefits, or income needed to live comfortably. To better understand the situation, let's compare the unemployment rates in Canada's major cities to those of global cities. Even though Canada's unemployment rates might seem comparable at first glance, the numbers don't reveal the full extent of the challenges. Wages have barely kept up with inflation, and for many young people, breaking into the job market is even more difficult. Entry-level jobs now often require years of experience, which means new graduates are getting trapped in a catch-22. They need experience to get hired, but they can't get experience unless they're hired. Another issue is the rise of gig economy jobs, Uber drivers, food delivery services, and freelance gigs. While these jobs may provide flexibility, they lack the benefits and stability that full-time employment offers. The gig economy is a growing part of the Canadian workforce, but it's leaving many workers without health benefits, retirement savings, and the security of regular paychecks. In short, even if you manage to land a job, the financial security and stability that many Canadians expect from their careers just isn't there. The labour market is changing, and many people are being left behind. And it's not just Canadians born here who are struggling. Immigrants to Canada, who arrive with hopes of a better life, are often hit even harder by these systemic issues. Canada markets itself as a welcoming beacon for immigrants. The idea is that if you come here, you'll have a chance to build a better life, whether through a new job, a new home, or a new future. But for many newcomers, the reality is far more challenging than expected. One of the biggest issues immigrants face is credential recognition. Highly skilled professionals like doctors, engineers, and accountants often find that their degrees and certifications are not recognized in Canada, forcing them to take on low-paying jobs outside their fields. Newcomers who were once highly respected professionals in their home countries are forced to accept survival jobs just to make ends meet. But it's not just about employment. Immigrants face the same high housing costs and rising living expenses that make settling here incredibly difficult. With the cost of rent and home prices climbing steadily, even the most qualified professionals can't afford a decent place to live. Many are finding that their dreams of a better life are being replaced with the harsh reality of a struggle just to survive. To understand how immigration has increased in recent years, let's look at the numbers. Over the past decade, Canada has dramatically increased the number of immigrants it welcomes each year. In 2014, fewer than 300,000 people immigrated to the country. By 2021, that number surpassed 400,000, and in 2023, it hit a record 500,000. While this growth is seen as essential for addressing labour shortages and fostering economic development, it also places immense pressure on the country's housing market and public services. The Government of Canada's immigration report predicts that this influx will continue, with over 500,000 immigrants expected to arrive annually in the coming years. For many immigrants, however, the dream of thriving in Canada remains just that, a dream. The reality for many is a constant battle to survive, not to thrive. So, we've covered housing, jobs, and immigration. Now let's talk about the everyday costs of living. It's one thing to deal with high housing prices and a competitive job market, but what about the basics? The cost of living in Canada is rising faster than most people can keep up with, and it's affecting everything from groceries to gas to utility bills. Take groceries, for example. A recent study by Statistics Canada revealed that food prices have risen by over 6.8% year over year. Basic items like bread, eggs, and milk have seen dramatic price hikes. These aren't luxury items. These are the staples that every family needs. Yet they've become a heavy financial burden for many Canadians. And don't even get me started on utility bills. Electricity, heating, and water costs have all risen significantly in the past few years, with RBC reporting that utility costs are now eating up a larger portion of household budgets than ever before. With housing, jobs, immigration struggles, and the high cost of living all piling up, the big question remains, is Canada still worth it? The country has always had its charms, its breathtaking landscapes, safety, and multicultural society. But these positives are increasingly overshadowed by the overwhelming costs of living. Canada may still offer a good life for some, but for many, the dream is fading. With more and more people questioning whether the Canadian dream is still attainable, it's clear that things need to change. The cracks in the system are growing, and unless these issues are addressed, more people will start looking elsewhere for a better future. So, what do you think? Is Canada still worth it, or has the dream faded for good? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more honest conversations. Thanks for watching.